Because we are in Slovenia, which was part of former Yugoslavia, we should also mention that cannabis was a part of Pharmacopoeia Jugoslavica and a part of Serbian Pharmacopoeia in the 30s, and it was very well renowned as a very good treatment.
In 20s, just about every pharmaceutical company marketed cannabis extract for pain. And if you look at it, some of the names are still recognizable today.
Zanimivo, da je tisti, ki je pravzaprav najbolj odgovoren za pričetek te prohibicije, takrat pred ameriškim kongresom leta 1937 rekel: konoplja je droga, ki je vzrok norosti, kriminala in smrti, to je droga, ki je povzročila največ nasilja v zgodovini človeštva. No in ta stavek oziroma te misli so s pomočjo medijev indoktrinirale celoten svet, vse ljudi in ima vpliv na razmišljanje navadnih ljudi in celo strokovnjakov in znanstvenikov še danes.
Okay, so we are talking about cannabis. You know that today they talk about technical cannabis, medicinal cannabis, and recreational cannabis. It's not true. There is only one cannabis, cannabis sativa, in English hemp.
One of the great obstacles nowadays to making advances in clinical reality with cannabis as it is available today, both for clinical practice and for clinical research, is the stance of the doctors and their medical organizations. Typically, they are opposed, they are limiting the use of cannabis, and they are holding back both on the clinical research of cannabis and cannabinoid-derived preparations. The patient who is presenting empirical evidence is not presenting acceptable proof in the eyes of the doctor. Many of the oncological patients are using all kinds of preparations the doctors do not know because of a breach in communication. The effect of 2 grams in one person may be the effect of 10 grams in another. So how can we tell the patients, this is the protocol, you take 10 grams. It's going to be too much for one of them and not enough for another. So there's a certain tension between legalization on one hand, sort of freeing access to cannabis, and medicalization.
Legalization, I say beware of it, because it doesn't mean free access and the cannabis will always be available.
And I think that behind that is also the problem of medicalization, that patients will not have possibilities as before because it is now only according to the percentage THC CBD. So it's not a big step backwards, it's several big steps backwards.
Demonization of THC and of course the relatively convenience of using CBD because it is easier for the industry to acquire and to develop as something that can be put on the market.
It's CBD, but they call it epidiolex so they can sell it like expensive. So this is the target and this is the way of pharmaceutical companies.
The more you purify or isolate a molecule, the more it will behave like a synthetic. Synthetic cannabinoids, I don't believe, belong in biological systems, like I have said. I fear that this is what the pharmaceutical industry will do with cannabis, is they'll synthesize all of the cannabinoids at a cheaper cost, and they'll try to probably recombine them in an entourage type fashion, but synthetics will invariably cause side effects.
There must be not only legalization of medicinal use, but must be also legalization of scientific study, because it's still not such easy if I want to exchange samples from in abroad, so it's very complicated.
When I was back in Slovenia several years ago, at that point I had not even started the study yet. Remember, I was still fighting with the government to get the trial underway. I'm proud to tell you that after 10 years of struggle with our government at all levels, we finally completed this study this year. And this next study, I'm striving to import cannabis flower from Canada because that's my only option. Our government is forcing US scientists to import to source study drug from foreign countries, even though we have some of the best cannabis flower in the world all around our nation. The government is saying, no, we're not allowed to have any other grower besides this one supplier at University of Mississippi that has had a government-enforced monopoly for 51 years. So the next trial will be importing this drug from Canada, but you'll see here, this is a press release from the group in Canada that was supposed to be providing the cannabis. And I want to just mention this press release, I know you can't read this, but what it says is that the study drug that we in order to import the drug, I have to open a drug master file with our FDA and prove that the cannabis meets the GMP criteria, good manufacturing practice. And the cannabis from Canada was contaminated with 3 different mycotoxin. And it just speaks to the problems with legalization and these regulated markets. You have these giant corporate behemoths in Canada worth, $4 billion, but they can't grow cannabis that is not contaminated. It's really shameful, and I just want to emphasize how important it is to empower your own growers that are in your country rather than letting in all these greedy corporations that don't care about the medicine, that don't care about patients, that only care about the stock market. And by the way, when this press release went out announcing that their cannabis was contaminated, it didn't affect their stock price at all, because the truth is that they don't care about the medicine, and that's a really sad situation.
And I have often thought that cannabis is a very unique medicine, and it shouldn't be classified with really herbal medicine where it kind of belongs, but not with pharmaceutical medicine, because pharmaceutical medicine uses a whole different premise with synthesizing and putting them into biological systems. And cannabis can do all of these things from a natural product source. I've seen miracles with $5 worth of cannabis.
Psychoactive cannabinoids are in mother's milk. Why? Give the baby some neuroprotection. It's breathing oxygen. It's going to use the electron transport system. It's going to make free radicals. Relax the kid. Give it endocannabinoids and other goodies. Make them happy. You ever see, you breastfeed these babies, they got big fat cheeks and they're sleeping with such happiness, because you got them stoned. Jeez. But it's illegal. So should we arrest all women for walking around with paraphernalia?